At least 18 people have died and many more are injured after what officials call this war's largest Russian air assault on Ukraine. Kyiv says more than 150 missiles and drones were used to strike cities across the country, including the capital, hitting vital infrastructure, industry and military facilities. Here's a look at the widespread destruction.
Homes destroyed by a Russian attack in the southern city of Odessa. One of many in what Ukraine has called the largest Russian air assault on the country since the beginning of the war, with devastating results. Elsewhere in eastern Dnipro, Russian strikes have left several dead and wounded. Shelling also destroying this maternity hospital. A timely air alert in the area, allowing many to evacuate.
It was very loud. It had never happened before since the beginning of the war. Everything was blown away. Windows and doors were smashed.
The biggest strike hitting this shopping center, with emergency crews scrambling to find those missing. And destruction also in the western city of Lviv, where several homes and schools have been destroyed.
There's a lot of damage. 10 residential buildings, practically all of them are damaged. In some, all windows flew out, doors are warped. Our community school is blown into pieces.
These images are from the capital, Kyiv. A warehouse burned down by Russian strikes. In the early hours, many took shelter in a metro station, waiting for the end of the shelling. Ukrainian officials say they managed to intercept more than 80 missiles and around 30 drones. But Russia says all targets were hit. The massive attack has left many in shock. Ukraine says after this bombardment, any talk of a truce with Moscow appears to be impossible.
The commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces says this was Russia's largest attack from the air since the start of the war. DW's Sonia Falnica has more.
That's right, Ben. I mean, this is a really huge coordinated attack across the country. I am actually standing here in the Podil district in Kyiv, and behind me you can probably see this warehouse that is still smoldering, the smoke billowing in the air. What we know is that this warehouse belongs to a pharmaceutical company, and it was hit earlier this morning by a missile. There were workers inside when that happened. People here have said that it looks like a direct hit given the extent of the damage. Part of the building has collapsed. There are people still trapped under the rubble. There's a really strong, acrid smell in the air. It kind of smells like chemicals on fire. And the search and rescue operation, as you can probably see, is still going on. The mayor of Kyiv has said 2 people are now confirmed to have been killed. 4 people have been rescued from the rubble. There are 28 people now confirmed injured. Many of them are hospitalized. But as I said, the search and rescue operation continues because the teams here fear that people are still trapped under the rubble. There are many emergency teams and the fire services here on standby, and a lot of people here really visibly in shock.
And Sonia, I mentioned there several cities were targeted across the country.
That's correct. I mean, reports are still coming in of the exact number of casualties and damage to infrastructure and facilities, really from across the country. And authorities here are really kind of bracing themselves, expecting the death toll to rise in some places. We're hearing of the eastern city of Dnipro, where the mayor has said 5 people are now confirmed dead, 25 people injured in a rocket attack. In Lviv in the west, 15 people have been injured in a rocket attack. Earlier today, Lviv was also targeted by a barrage of attack drones, the Shahid drones, where the Ukrainians say, debris of a drone that was shot down by the air defense hit a high-rise residential building, and that building was on fire. We saw footage earlier of these people being evacuated from there. So really kind of a grim picture, Ben, this morning across Ukraine.
DW correspondent Sonia Falnica in Kyiv, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. And let's take you now to Frank Ledwidge, a military analyst based in Oxford. Ukraine says a record number of missiles were fired. What's your take on the scale and timing of this assault?
Well, good morning, Ben. We've been expecting something like this, and it's been building for some time. Russia's been stockpiling new missiles, cruise missiles, and of course it's husbanding the stocks it has. So today the Ukrainians say about 160 missiles and drones were fired. Most of the drones were shot down, and they're used as decoys, well, not so much as decoys, but to draw the defences up. And again, most of the missiles, ballistic missiles and various other forms of strike weapons, most of them were shot down. So we're looking at about 65% shot down, but that's a low proportion for Ukraine. So essentially what happened here, let's be candid, is Ukraine's air defences were overwhelmed. And that's the objective of this strike by Russia. It's not so much to hit targets, that's a plus. It's to deplete Ukraine's air defences, which are the most effective portion of which, of course, are Western supplied.
But Frank, is that something Russia can keep up?
Well, analysts say that the Russians have built up a stockpile, just to give you one example, of about 1,000 cruise missiles. Ukrainians say they fired, I think, 30 or 40 tonight. They can keep this up for several months. And the question is, really, can they keep it up? And can the Ukrainians match it? And that's pretty much the top and bottom of it, really. Who is going to be depleted first? Is it going to be Russia's strike missiles or Ukraine's defensive forces? And to a very great degree, that depends on the level to which the West is going to be able to resupply Ukraine's anti-aircraft missile ammunition.
You also mentioned the type of missiles here. I believe X-22 missiles, which are extremely hard to intercept, are also being deployed by the Russians.
Yes, the X-22 are ex-Soviet missiles. They were originally designed actually to attack aircraft carriers with nuclear warheads. They're just slightly slower than hypersonic missiles. The problem is that they're extremely fast on the run-in, about Mach 4.5, and the only missiles that can address those, that can challenge them, are Patriots and Italian-French SAMP-Ts, which are very similar to the Patriots. And I don't know how many were fired or how many were hit. The Ukrainians said, by the way, earlier in the year they hadn't managed to intercept any. I don't know if that's the case later on, but clearly they find it very difficult to intercept those. They are, by the way, essentially hypersonic missiles, and that's why they're so effective.
Frank, the other thing is that these attacks come a day after Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked the US for its latest military aid package. What difference could it now make on the battlefield?
Well, not just on the battlefield, of course. As I mentioned earlier, one of the key categories is air defences. But the answer to your question is that decisive. I think this is something the Ukrainians would concede. And I think any honest analyst would say that the Ukrainians will find it very difficult to resist Russia's assaults, both in the air, on the ground, and on the ground without it. It's absolutely decisive, but it's not just the usual drip feed of $250 million every month or so. What's needed here is a long-term strategy, a long-term approach to not just reinforcing Ukraine's existing forces, but also developing them into the future as a deterrent force as the years go on. And right now we've not seen that. We've not seen that for the last 2 years. But the answer is decisive. It's absolutely essential.
On another front, a possible truce. Ukraine's foreign ministry says these attacks prove there can be no talk of a ceasefire with Moscow. Where do we go from here?
Don't see why they show that any more than they demonstrate anything else, other than reminding us all of the perilous state in which Ukraine finds itself and has found itself for the last 2 years. Look, nobody knows what's going on in the background. I suspect there are no talks at the moment. Putin's got his tail up, as they say at the moment, but that may not remain the case for long. We will see. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows except the protagonists, and they're not saying.
You heard it from Frank Ledwidge there, military analyst. Thank you very much for being on DW again.
Thank you, Ben.